I've written extensively on some of the worst horrors of left-wing history, principally focusing on the terror of revolutionary France, the horrors of Stalinist Russia, the catastrophe of Mao's China, and, blackest of them all, the hell of Pol Pot's Khmer Rouge Cambodia. Through extensive study of these disasters, I've noticed how all were caused by a number of characteristics which still proliferate on the far left. The widespread hatred of their political opposition, a tendency to anger and riot, an inclination to exaggerate and to believe any hysterical stories about their rivals, and a blasé acceptance of societal and economic theories which are, on closer examination, critically flawed. The one reassurance in studying such crises is that they all happened under particularly demanding circumstances. So the prevalence of such traits today does not necessarily mean there's any danger of a repeat performance. But, I have to say, this is changing, and it's changing rapidly. Societies in the developed West, in Britain, America, and elsewhere, are splintering into bitterly divided factions which have been set against each other by increasingly hysterical beliefs. The likes of BLM and Antifa are forwarding theories which bear little relation to reality, yet they are enthusiastically embraced by sections of youth looking for an outlet. We warned about the consequences of the BLM movement months ago on this channel, that it would increase racial tensions, and that it would set societies on a path of destruction, violence, and division. In addition to this, a more moderate, metropolitan faction on the left has grown increasingly sneering and disdainful towards those sections of society who voted for Trump, who supported Brexit, and who have concerns about immigration. Those communities have felt belittled, treated with contempt, and this has prompted a rise in anger and a desire to hit back, however possible, at their smug tormentors. Once started, these rifts have only widened, those splits worsened as hostility has increased on both sides. A conflict fueled by an ever greater reliance on increasingly volatile social media outlets. And this is apparent at even the highest echelons of society. Michelle Obama tweeted, "Let's remember that tens of millions of people voted for the status quo, even when it meant supporting lies, hate, chaos, and division. We've got a lot of work to do to reach out to those folks in the years ahead and connect with them on what unites us." Well, Michelle, you don't build bridges with people by castigating them as objectionable idiots. That really shouldn't need explaining to a former First Lady. So this shows that the future looks troubling. And now, added into this combustible mix, is a very real threat of catastrophic economic collapse. The wild overreaction to the threat of COVID-19 and the crippling losses to freedom have set us on an extraordinarily dangerous path, even as alienation rips through our societies. If anyone had said a year ago that we would be hit by a virus that, in the south of Britain, below Liverpool, has affected just 0.7% of the population and killed a minuscule 0.02%, almost all of whom were over the age of 70, none of us would have believed that a compliant nation would simply surrender all their freedoms in response. Yet here we are. Sports stadiums are empty. Holidays are a distant memory. Pubs and restaurants are shut or, when open, throw up so many obstacles that going for a drink has become an unbearable torture. Shops are shut. Art galleries are shut. There are no concerts, no parties, no clubs. Tourist attractions and stately homes are closed, and we're ordered to become prisoners in our own homes, barred from receiving or visiting our family or dearest friends. People shuffle through the streets wearing pointless masks and flinching when they get too close to another human being, or screaming out abuse at any who dare not follow the guidelines, ever watchful of a mask mafia. Yet since people began wearing masks, the rate of infection has rocketed. The evidence is clear. They do not work. But facts have little impact on the assurance of our eager new Gestapo. We've become a virtual police state, and all for a virus which has little discernible effect on 99% of the population. And there is no real end in sight at all to this madness. Yet the majority seem happy to comply, even as the social fabric of our society and the economy that underpins our health service and all the utilities we take for granted starts to fracture and come apart at the seams. This presages chaos, a cataclysm that most seem to not comprehend at all. We have started an avalanche of problems that, unless averted immediately, will only continue to escalate. Unless this derangement, this societal panic is halted, our very civilization threatens to slide into the abyss. And it will do so just as we have become more hostile, more fragmented than perhaps we have ever been. When that happens, people will look to apportion blame. They will start pointing fingers, and all that bile and hatred that has simmered, that has been encouraged over recent years by radical firebrands, that has been stoked by smug liberals who sneer at the working classes, even while congratulating themselves on their compassion and tolerance, all of that will come to the boil. The irony is that when this all started, the people of Britain responded furiously to the term herd immunity. Yet, since then, a large slice have proven themselves defined by bovine conformity, while herd immunity has emerged as by far the most sensible option. We should shield those who are vulnerable to this contagion, but the young and robust should be encouraged to get out, to develop resistance to COVID. This is what will slow its spread most effectively of all. If not, what next? Another lockdown to cast another 10,000 businesses into oblivion, or to delay the spread by a single month? For we will just get back to the same place, and that appalling total may rise to 0.9% of the population, with 0.03% of deaths. It seems quite apparent that this cure is so much worse than the disease, and that hiding in our homes with our masks on is no kind of life at all. We have lost all our freedoms, and life without freedom is nothing. I have spent a lifetime studying how societies operate, but I have never felt anything approaching the alarm I feel now. In fact, alarm is not the word. It is dread, a palpable terror about how much damage may be done if we do not snap out of this panicked response soon. Because it is when our comforts and securities begin to disappear that the true divisions and hatred in society are revealed. And everything that is happening now is setting us on a very dark path indeed. Thankfully, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. More and more people are ignoring lockdown, and the rising number of protests is likely to make the policy untenable before too long. Let's hope so, for all our sakes, because these protests and the possible vaccine that now may seem imminent suggest we could survive the current crisis. But it has exposed the fragility that underpins our society. We should guard against that complacency, the idea that it can't happen to us, because it most certainly can. If you've liked this film, please like and subscribe, and I've written 2 books that go into subjects like this in a great deal of detail. They're available on the links below. Please do pick them up and let me know what you think. Thank you.